I was sat scrolling through Facebook the other day when something caught my eye. After a bit of digging, I realised that this little beast was just down the road from me, and even better, I'd already done a video with a bloke who owns it. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but just over a year ago I went down to the car warehouse to have a look around in a series that I'd just started to make, exploring some of the UK's most expensive or interesting car showrooms. Anyway, COVID put the stoppers on that, but Lee, who runs the joint, hasn't stopped importing cars. And well, when I saw the miniature Impreza 22B, I had to ask if I could go back in and film it. The thing is though, the warehouse is pretty full at the moment, so he's had to take a few motors back to his place to store them there. And when I say a few, I mean maybe about 120? This place is an import fan's wet dream. The variety of toys he has in is absolutely phenomenal. Kei Cars, hot hatches, campers, grand tourers, there's a bit of everything. So before I get to the main event, let's have a quick look around the extra stock that he has back at his gaff. Starting outside with this classic example of a Yakuza cruiser, the Toyota Crown. Next to that is this 1.5 seat wide Daihatsu midget with the coolest wheels that I think I've ever seen fitted on any car. Spin around 180 degrees and there's an old President, but this isn't your plain old Nissan, no, it's a hearse. Yeah, a hearse. Because when you're dead, you need to ride in style, don't you? This supercharged T-Top MR2 is one of my old man's favourites, and lined up alongside that are a couple of MG RV8s, which to be honest, I don't really know that much about, but they look beefy as anything. I am a sucker for an Alto. When these are done up, they are one of my favourite Kei Cars, and I'm sure this won't be the last one that Lee gets in. Moving on to this big orange block. Said block. Any ideas what it is? Yeah, I didn't have a clue either. It's a Toyota Will apparently. I was a little bit more keen to have a look around this little charade next to it, but it's something that I definitely haven't seen before. There's a row of old Daimlers, Jags, BMs, and my personal favourite so far, this E39 B10 Alpina. Chris Harris would be pissing himself. It's the last one in the production run, number 151 of 151. Nice. Over the last couple of years, S15 prices have absolutely skyrocketed. This is maybe not the most desirable model, with it being the convertible rather than a coupe, but even so, it'll still be a really good investment for someone. It even comes with a free lady toy stuck on the front headlight. Oh yeah. There's another Toyota Crown a bit further around the yard. I wonder if Han learned to drive in it. And I don't know what it is with the Japanese people, but they absolutely love an 850R, and so do I, so fair play to them. These are just all the bits that Lee keeps outside. To see the stuff that's really interesting, you've got to dive inside the two-storey shed. There are quite a few little pickups dotted around in here, as well as some other interesting pieces that he's got lined up for future projects, like this roulette steel wheel. Tucked away in the corner is a Cosy that's spent nearly all of its life over in Japan, but if you swing around, you'll see an absolute peach of a Honda City Turbo too. More on that in a bit. On the other side of the garage, there's an XK8 XKR with some mad factory kit on it. And next to that is an absolutely stunning 1 of 5 Alfa Romeo GTV Conrero. Gorgeous, innit? What does every City Turbo need though? The Moto Compo to squeeze in the back, obviously. And that's what we have here. Mental. Going through to the back end of the garage, you can find all of the VW stuff, which deserves a video of its own to be honest, but there is a cheeky AutoZam squeezed back there and all. The City Turbo will be undergoing a full resto, so hopefully I can have a snoop around once it's done, but if we head upstairs, there are a few more motors that definitely cannot be missed out. Starting with the French OG, the Renault 5 Turbo. Anyone who's a fan of rallying will have a bit of a stiffy on right now. They are so sought after, and this is such a nice example. From the French onto the British now though, and these minis are all super clean as well. But when was the last time that you saw a legit mini era turbo? Well, Lee has 4, so you can't really miss him here. Lastly, tucked away in the corner is a car that I had as a kid, the Lotus 340R. What a machine to look at. It's basically an older version of an Ariel Atom. It's unbelievable. Because I'm a right charming bastard, I've been given the green light to take pretty much anything out to make a video on, but to be honest, there are that many cars in here that I like, I really can't decide where to start. So do us a favour and drop me a comment down below with what you'd like to see me film next. Back to the main event now though. This little Scooby isn't really a 22B that's been on a hot wash, it's actually called a Vivio. Now I have heard of them before, but I've never actually seen one in this shape. They come in either a 3-door hatch, 5-door hatch, or this, which is the best of the lot, a 2-door Targa top. It's basically a Porsche. I'm a huge fan of Japanese cars in general, and Kei Cars are at the very top of that list just for how ridiculous the designs can be, on something which is really just meant to be a proper cheap form of motoring over there. Like, why go to all the effort of designing a rear window that drops into the body on a car that costs like $11,000 US new? God knows. Anyway, they didn't stop there. They also decided to strap a little supercharger on that 8-valve 658cc engine to produce an arm-wrenching 65 horsepower. How tidy is that engine bay, by the way? It does actually rip, to be fair. I've been in things that are a hell of a lot slower. Unfortunately, you couldn't buy it like this from factory. This little head turner was thought by the owner of the Cazoo, as it's now called, and when it arrived in the UK it was actually a pretty standard looking import. But after a quick respray and plastering the iconic Subaru Rally livery stickers all over it, it looks absolutely amazing, and I'm sure the legend Colin McRae would give it a big thumbs up. The full-size Impreza wing, gold wheels and even the roof scoop is enough to make you look twice, but once you drop that rear window down and take off the 3-panel targa top, it is just another level of Japanese insanity. Granted, inside it is quite basic, but I mean, what do you expect when you get all of the other little trinkets? You do get electric windows and a CD player though, so I mean, what else do you possibly need? Surprisingly though, it's actually pretty spacious. I'm not exactly the tallest of blokes at 5'8", but even Glenn, who you might know from an old M2 video I made, was fairly comfy driving this thing around, and he's well over 6 foot tall. Of course, we had to take it out for a spin to see whether or not this 90s Kei car can handle driving around on the horrendous British roads. There are that many craters and bumps around here, it's like driving around on a teenager's face, and I was half expecting the little Vivio to shake itself to bits, but it actually did really well. Yeah, you've got to give it the beans to get it up to speed, but once it's there, it can more than happily save 50 all day long. You cannot go driving one of these things around though without attracting a bit of attention, and every set of traffic lights or junction that we stopped at, we could see people howling in the cars. Well, you would have if I was any good with a camera, but I'm clearly not. 10 quid gets you half a tank of fuel, and you can drive around for 4 hours and seemingly not use a penny of it. And when you put it up against a modern day European hatchback, the size difference is mental. Same height roughly, but yeah, there's no way you're getting in the backseat of one of these things unless you're Oscar Pistorius or you're still getting your dinner from your mum's nips. For a small city car, you'd expect the turning circle to be class, wouldn't you? But it's absolutely Danny Dyer. To be fair, you probably could just pick the back end up and spin it round by hand if you really needed to, but that's pretty much one of the only faults that I can pick out on this little Scooby. Kei cars are just class, aren't they? They're made to put a smile on your face, and they do exactly that. This one is currently for sale over on the Cazoo's website, so I'll drop a link to the advert down in the description. And while you're there, you can have a look through the vast array of cars that are up for grabs on the site at the moment. Some of my personal favourites, apart from all of the AutoZams, include this old XR3 Formula 1 pace car, and this. Yeah, that. Big thanks to Lee and Glenn for letting me have a mooch around and taking me out in this little weapon. And yeah, hopefully I'll be back sometime in the future to take out some other motors for a spin. Remember to comment down below with what you'd like to see me make a video on next. The City Turbo, Renault 5, or maybe even the 340R perhaps. The power is in your hands. Until then, have a good one and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!